Today we're going to examine the question of normal aging, and we want to review some of the basic principles on the biology and physiology of aging that have clinical implications for both clinical assessments and for healthy longevity. I'm reminded of this poem by T.S. Eliot, With Each Patient Encounter. I've lost my sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. How should I use them for your closer contact? This reminds me of the neurosensory impairments that older adults have, and often our communication has to be guided by an appreciation for the fact that older adults may have hearing impairment as well as visual impairment. So the goals today are to look at aging demographics. I want to briefly look at theories on aging that are helping inform what we call gerobioscience. And we want to be able to distinguish normative aging from disease and old age. You know, it used to be that people thought that memory loss was a normal part of aging, and it wasn't really until scientists and clinicians gave that condition a name, Alzheimer's disease, that people actually understood it to be that as a disease rather than a normal process of aging. So some people say that aging is not a disease, and I think that's a good understanding of how we should view the older adult population. Well, this may seem like a simpleton question, but quite honestly, 30 years ago, people thought that aging was irreversible. Over the years, research has shown that aging actually can be stopped and possibly reversed, and so this perspective has changed considerably. So in the left column, we see the traditional view is that aging is an inevitable process, biological breakdown, it's cumulative and irreversible. And so the approach is to ameliorate aging problems with medications, pain control, and it's a very disease-oriented process. But on the right-hand column, really the question becomes that if we slow the aging process or stop it through a variety of means, which may include things like plant medicinals in combination with biologics, that by slowing the rate of aging even, that we may be able to prevent age-related diseases. Now, the converse of this is to think about something like diabetes, which is an aging accelerant. And so it would be true that a lot of the age-dependent diseases are more often seen in the diabetic population than in the non-diabetic population, so that you see both ends of the spectrum of how there may be populations of older adults that have accelerated aging and those that have a slower rate of aging. And the question is, what can we do to mitigate the rate of aging? And we'll offer you some ideas as we move along here. So some common principles. One is that there's a disconnect between your biologic age and your chronologic age, and recent research shows that dramatic situation in terms of some of the population being older than they actually think they are, and then some of the individuals in a population actually being younger than their chronologic age from a biologic perspective. The other point is that organs age at different rates, and so the most impressive example is the involution of the thymus gland, where by basically the age of 20, the thymus gland is fully involuted, and the immune system has been established as a consequence. Other organs, such as the brain, do not age at quite the same rate, obviously, and other organs, such as liver, have regenerative capacity. Certainly the brain has neuroplasticity and regenerative capacity, but at a very different level than, let's say, liver. And the other principle that we alluded to earlier was that the rate of aging can be slowed and reversed. And we'll talk a little bit about some research that supports that point of view. So here's what I was talking about in terms of the differences in a population where everybody here is the same age. They're 38 years old, and their biologic age was measured by a panel of measurements that include blood pressure, centripetal circumference, monocyte count, telomere length, and a variety of other measurements that give this composite score that represents a biologic age. And so you can see that it's a bell-shaped curve. Half the population at the age of 38 is older than 38, and half is younger. And the question is, what is it that causes this variation? You might also consider the fact that as we get older, 65 and older, let's say, the variation in our biologic age increases even more dramatically. And so that bell-shaped curve starts to flatten out or distribute it more. And the more recent conceptualization that 70 is the new 60 in terms of age might have some relevance as the population is aging and living longer and longer with each year. And it just reminds us of what kinds of things can we do as a population as well as individuals to enhance or extend that healthy lifespan. So the question here is that if you look at people that are to the right of the dotted line on this curve, what kinds of things can we prescribe for them that will move them to the left of that dotted line of 38 years old? And so some of those things are physical activity, nutrition would be two examples, and there might also be some chemotherapeutics that we can discuss as part of a research protocol that might influence that curve to the left, if you will. So take a look at these folks. Three gals here that would like you to estimate their age just for a moment. And as it turns out, somewhat surprisingly, these people look younger than their stated age. This is an important concept clinically, that when you do see a patient, when you see them to be younger than their stated age or perhaps older than their stated age, research has shown that that actually is a pretty good barometer or metric for their biologic age. So I highly encourage clinical encounters to include a statement as to whether the patient on physical exam looks older or younger than their stated age.